All right. My buddy Raphael is out of the country for 10 days, and he obviously hasn't seen Thor and won't see it for a while. And even if he does see it, we're not going to be able to do a review on it. So I figured I'd drop a quick review. I don't know if you guys watched the old videos of this movie or our review of the other Thors, but uh, it comes down to this as far as Thor goes. It's visually beautiful. It's like an homage to the Jason Aaron storylines, which is like the God Bomb, um, the God Butcher, and Unworthy. A little bit of the Unworthy stuff, and then the introduction of Jane Foster as Mighty Thor. Um, so the question to me, to answer to you guys that are trying to figure out whether you want to go see it in the theaters is this. If you like Taika Waititi's humor and you like Thor and the side characters being buffoonish, then this movie is going to appeal to you. Basically, if you liked Thor Ragnarok, but the comedy and the slapstick humor and the physical humor and stuff like that turned up to like 11, then this movie might appeal to you. You might go in there and just laugh your rear end off. If you watch Thor Ragnarok and you did not like the slapstick humor, you're gonna hate this because it is an absolute. It's just one joke after the other. For me, I didn't enjoy it at all. Like I mean, I had a few laughs here and there because I mean, goats screaming. It's kind of funny at first. The 100th time it happens, it's not as funny. But for me, Thor is the god of thunder. He's a warrior. He's been a warrior throughout the ages. He's been a reborn warrior in a thousand lifetimes. He is. I like the Thor from the first movie better than I like this Thor. He's just a better version of Thor. Slapstick. I don't have any situational awareness. I'm the brunt of everybody's joke, and that's another problem I have. The males in Taika Waititi's movies are just comedy relief. They're just like they're objects of comedy to be like derided. Thor like is just goofy. He has no awareness of other people's emotions and how he affects them. I mean, at one point, he destroys a bunch of stuff and like he's just like, "Hey, you're welcome." And so he's basically the Rock from Moana as far as that goes. Like he except he's not even as serious as that. He's more slapstick and goofy than the god in Moana. That said, the saving grace of this movie is Christian Bale playing Gore the God Butcher. Now they take the storyline from the comic book and they shift it. So in the storyline, Gore has a son and a daughter, I believe. And Gore was invented by, I think Jason Aaron invented him in 2013. Some comic book nerds can look it up. I'm pretty sure it's 2013. Thor: God of Thunder #1, which is where Gore the God Butcher was introduced. Um, and he's an amazing, like villain slash super villain slash anti-hero depending on your perspective. And you'll see in the background I'm showing you the comic book version of Gore the God the Butcher, and he is an amazing character. He wields it's like I believe the full name of it is like Blackest the Necro Sword or something like that, and it was created. Here's a fun fact for you. It was created by Null, which is the god of the symbiotes, which is basically the leader of the symbiotes, which is Venom and Carnage and all those guys. So there's like this, and that was after they rewrote the way the Venom and stuff worked when they decided, hey, we really like Venom, we want more characters like that. So we're gonna pretend that Venom is a race, and so they invented the race. Anyways, Null is the big god, and Null is the one who created the Necro Sword. He carved it out of the head of a celestial, of a dead celestial, It's as old. It's not as old as Galactus, but it's pretty dang old. And it's been around for a long time and been used to slay gods. And that's the purpose of the sword: is to slay celestials, slay gods. And so Gore gets a hold of the sword. This is not a spoiler. That's not a mystery. They tell you that in the trailers if you watch the trailers. And in the comic books, he goes on a rampage and kills. And it's a great comic book, and it happens during a time of tumult for Thor, and it happens and during a time when the mighty Thor, Jane Foster, who is not a Thor, she's just in the Thor comic book and dressed like Thor and wielding Mjolnir, because you have the power of Thor. That doesn't make you actually Thor. Thor's a dude, and his name is Thor. Anyways, it's a great comic book storyline, and I encourage anybody who likes the story, those kind of deep stories, to go and read that. You kind of want to start with Unworthy, or maybe even go back to before the Unworthy storyline, before the Fall, and read that, and then read at least part of the Jane Foster arc, and then read God of Thunder #1, and that whole story arc, and then you want to read the God Bomb story arc, and then it's good stuff. Anyways, if you're not interested in comic books and you're just interested in the movie, I can suggest this movie for anybody who liked Thor Ragnarok. If you really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok and you thought the humor, and you thought Hulk cracking jokes, and Thor being goofy and and imbecilic was fun, you're gonna enjoy this movie. If you think that Thor should be the killing machine that he's designed to be, and he's an epic hero, which is not necessarily along the Norse mythology, but it is along the comic book mythology. Thor, which now has 100,000 times more content than the Norse mythology Thor ever did. Both are fake, so I don't need people arguing with me about which one's better. They're both fake. They were just made up at different times, and one's based off the other. If you want to see Thor as a badass who struggles with his, whether he's worthy to be the God of Thunder, and he has to fight against someone who is actually capable of killing him, because that's not always the case. Thor fights against a lot of creatures. I mean, even Thor versus Thanos. Thanos without the Infinity Gauntlet takes a whipping from Thor. Most times. That's post Thanos being arrested and shuffled into a helicopter by the police. That's a real thing that happened in the comic books, by the way. Yeah, so it's. I like to call this movie Thor: Men in Tights, because it feels like Taika Waititi thinks that this is a Mel Brooks spinoff movie, and literally everything is basically this.
I'm quite sure there was a door there. Master Robin.
I mean, you think this line could literally be part of the. This line, this could literally be part of the story part of the Love and Thunder. I mean, you think it's silly because Mel Brooks produced it, but legitimately, at many times I thought I was going to hear this music fire up. I didn't, thank God. The music was actually good. It had a bunch of 80s rock, and it had a bunch of 90s rock, and it was amazing music. But ever since James Gunn introduced that kind of genre into the Guardian stuff, that's kind of been the direction that things have gone, which is a good direction, because listening to this while Thor fights or falls down or knocks down half your city and gets up and laughs and goes, "Hey, you're welcome." That's not appealing to me. They did go with the Jane Foster heavy part, which I'm not going to spoil here, but there is a heaviness to the storyline that Jason Aaron wrote, and it deals with a serious problem, a serious issue, and I'm glad they went that direction. My problem is they didn't go enough in that direction. The only time that you really take the entire movie serious at all is when Gore is on screen, and Christian Bale does an amazing job of playing Gore. They should have made him look more like Gore. They should have given him the necro wings and that kind of stuff that you see in the picture behind me. And I'll flash some stuff up for you. if you want to see. And they should have gone with a sword that looked more like the Necro Sword. I'll show you right here. This is what the Necro Sword looks like. But they didn't, and that's fine, because Christian Bale on screen, the more camera time Christian Bale had, the better the movie got. When Christian Bale was not on screen, I didn't like the movie at all. So, that said, I give it an F. I absolutely hated this movie. Like, an absolute waste of money. That said, I didn't like Thor Ragnarok. I love World War Hulk. I love Battle World Hulk. I hated Thor Ragnarok, which was basically a knockoff of that story arc in the Hulk comic books. I was hoping we'd get something with more depth, but I knew once Taika Waititi was assigned to this movie that we would not. Now, I like Taika and his other stuff, his non-Marvel stuff. He has a great eye. He's a great director. He should never touch another script of Thor or any other Marvel movie ever again. He makes them look ridiculous trash. That's my opinion. You're welcome to enjoy them. I hope you do enjoy them. If you like slapstick humor mixed with your Thor, if you like your peanut butter and your chocolate, you're gonna love this movie. If you don't like absolute slapstick nonsense, script makes no real sense at all, there's plot holes left and right, then what can I tell you? Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and I can't wait for Raph to get back so we can compare notes.